It's off exit 10, presented by Capital District Sport and Fitness.
I like to listen to them laugh and talk shit.
Yeah, we got Mike McFerran back on.
Back on.
We're back on. We were saying before you're in
back like you never left.
Yeah, you're in a legendary status with none other than Dr. Gerald in terms of a two-time guest. Is that true, Jay? Or only two-timers?
No, Alex Lindor.
Oh,
and
that's
Alex
right.
Linder.
Alex Linder. Shout
out
out
to Alex.
So the third. Yeah, I'll take that. It's
Yeah,
an honor, guys.
so the
It's an
third.
honor.
Third time's a charm.
It's fun. I appreciate it. I had a great time. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, let's get to it. So fall ball's wrapped up.
Fall ball's over. Yep. Indies are starting again on the back end, where we take a shift in focus, but guys are done throwing for the most part.
So indies, you mean what? Independent work? Guys are on their own.
Right. Yeah. Group settings. Yep. Rather than team setting.
So what were your biggest goals in the fall with guys? You have returners who you were with all of last year, and you have new transfers, you have freshmen. How are you organizing things?
So we had 25 pitchers, which is a ton. 3 of them are returning from last year. There are 3 of the main pieces of return.
Is that high for a college roster? Or?
No, I would say that's low. So
Okay.
I think it's 6 total, but 3, of our main pieces are returning, and I would say the other 3 in that group are fighting for where they're going to fit into all this, and I think they have a good chance to. It's a brand new feeling. I honestly, I think we kind of figured we had such a good culture in place, and we have such a good idea of what we're doing in terms of our philosophy and implementing it, that we would just kind of roll. And we had to start from ground zero a little bit in terms of like how to hold runners and teach guys reference points. And it's so many young guys and new guys, but they adapted really fast and ended up being a really good fall. So
This is year number what for you at Wake?
3.
Year number 3. You felt like 1 and 2 was a lot of just building the systems?
I think it was understanding what we had in front of us. It's we just had this ocean of information. Like, it's just like, how do we possibly make sense of this? So yeah, building systems on top of that, and then the philosophies to go along with those systems. And now it's refining and applying and on a more individual basis. But it's a ton of building. It's still a ton of building. I don't think that ever really stops.
So your biggest things that you didn't expect, just these younger guys, and teaching them what? More of just the basics?
Yeah, the basics of stuff. So we're very into pace. So the rhythm that I think we had 1 pitch clock violation last year, and that's by design. Like it's we want to go really fast. Like we actually time. This is one of our pitching coach's main philosophies, and I think it's genius. We just time everything. So in a bullpen, it's like, how many seconds between each pitch are you throwing? What's your holds for runners in this situation? Your first 5 or whatever you want. Your next 5 are a guy with a runner on first base, and your next 5 are a guy with or pitches with a guy on second base. And we're timing everything all the time to get them used to that, so that when they get into a game, we don't have to think about it so much.
Would you like it because it's giving the hitter less time to think?
100%. 100%. Yeah, you just kind of swarm them.
Yeah, because I've looked at, when you used the word deception last time you were here, I've now looked at, I just never thought of that, and it's such a simple concept. And it's like deception is what? It could be movement on a pitch, how they perceive the ball out of the pitcher's hand, or your velocity. Faster it takes to get to the plate, the less time you got to think.
100%. Mm-hmm. Yep, it can be. And then there's the hiding the ball, and what Dan was talking about before we started, and hiding the ball behind your body is a little bit deceptive at times, or it can be. And if you think about it, like the window of time that they have to pick up the ball, if it goes behind their head and it's gone. Like, I've actually seen video where the ball actually falls behind their shoulders, and then the ball falls behind their arm, right? And it's like all the way it's just blocked by the body, and then bang. Like, the first second they see the ball is when it's released.
I'm so screwed if I'm hitting.
Is hitting a baseball the hardest thing in sports?
Yeah.
All sports?
I think hitting a golf ball is a lot harder.
That's the debate.
Golf ball stationary though.
Yeah, but it's so hard.
You think that makes it easier?
Jordy, I can remember. Jordy retired from golf, yes?
Yeah, done. Probably a 15-year career.
But I can remember going to Winding Brook with Dad and Big Red, one of his older friends, this guy Big Red. Is he still with us? Big Red?
I can't comment on that.
Okay.
I don't know.
But Big Red could barely walk, overweight, right? I'm like, how's he going to get out of the golf cart? And the motherfucker just hits it straight. hits it straight, and kicks my ass. But that's golf.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh,
My
I'm athletic. I'll be okay.
My stepdad could kick my ass in golf too, but he put us in a batter's box, and I'm probably going to do a little better than he's going to do. I'm not going to do great. I'll tell you that. Not
Right.
going to do great.
So I'm just starting. I just started playing. Like I just got clubs, and I can't transition, or I'm having trouble transitioning between the feeling of swinging for a baseball bat
Right.
and swinging for a golf club.
And I think that's
really hard.
for a baseball player. Putting in that is the harder part.
Yeah.
But I think I mean, Dion said it. They asked Dion. He played pro baseball and pro football. What's the hardest thing to do? He said hitting the baseball is the hardest thing I ever had to do.
Yeah.
Is it hard for you to shut off your analytical brain when you're golfing?
No,
You're like,
I want to use it.
right.
I want to use it to my advantage. Like, dude, I took a lesson recently, and this guy was teaching me all this awesome stuff. And about like 6 cues into it, I'm like, oh no! I just knew. I was like, I'm hooked. Like, it's all applicable. Everything is just going to transfer if I can figure out how to do that.
You're like, this guy just took so much money out of my pocket, and he doesn't even know it yet.
Somebody's gonna walk into the Wake pitching lab, and there's McFerran just teeing up his
I
driver.
got him in there,
into-
man. I got my clubs in there. We got a net. I pull it out. I got the foam. I got the foam ball so I can practice.
There you go.
I'm not there yet. If I hit it hard, it slices. That's a big if.
It's a tough sport. It's fun to be out there, but it's a tough sport. So with individuals now, that's going to start. So you're what? You're programming, you're coaching guys all individually on their own plans with things that they need to work on.
Yeah. Yep. And without them throwing, we take a little bit of a different approach. It's a lot of mentality stuff now. Those guys are getting the much needed rest after a long year. We're big proponents of that, but there's an even keeled balance. Like we're trying to work on things even though they can't throw. Every rep is a link in the chain of a good habit, right? So the more that they can do dry work or mental reps or whatever it is that they can do, the more progress they're going to gain in that time.
Right. So you're recommending everybody shutting down right now.
Well, depending on their schedule. Yeah, I mean, some guys are like coming back from injury and they've already had a lot of rest for their arm, or some guys just need to get work in, so we prolong them just a little bit. But it's different for each person.
Right. I guess your regular high schooler, let's say, who just played high school ball, summer ball, and fall ball, and if they threw consistently, they need to be shut down. What's a scenario where a guy isn't going to shut down?
If he needs to work on something, or if he didn't throw a lot of innings. Right, so for me, it's always about how many innings you throw and how many pitches you throw collectively that your arm, I think, needs a break from. So that's why it's different for each person. But let's say if you got a kid who's a freshman or a sophomore in high school and he didn't play a whole lot on varsity baseball and then he threw a ton in the summer, well, he might have like a few innings left, right, depending on what he did in fall ball. So I would say you want to put the priority on what do I need to do to improve my game and make your decisions around that. Right, so if I'm not very good and I really want to play college baseball, okay, great. What do you need to work on? Now is the time to go do that. If you're likely didn't throw a ton of innings in that case. If someone is working with quite a large skill set and they're already going somewhere, they're already committed to a school, and they threw a lot of innings this year, then they need to be smart about it and rest appropriately, and then build a game plan moving forward. So I think it just depends on who you are.
Right. And I think knowing you can get better at pitching without just pitching is huge.
Mm-hmm.
What are your biggest building blocks for guys now? They're not throwing, but this is how we're going to get better. You're going to improve velocity, improve your efficiency.
So I think in the weight room and physically with your body is the first thing that comes to mind. I don't see a scenario where, especially a teenager, like the number one thing they could do is just get bigger and become mobile in these specific areas they need to, and that doesn't take any throwing, obviously, in order to do. The thing that jumps to mind the most is just because you're not throwing against hitters shouldn't mean you turn off your development brain. You should be finding the things that are going to teach you to be a better pitcher, and so much of that just comes from the information that's available wherever you get information. They should be. I think they should be growing and understand the process of learning and developing themselves endlessly, whether that's through pitch data or whatever means that they have to do. But just because you're not throwing doesn't mean you're not getting better.
Yeah, that's what we talked about last time a lot, right? Like having younger kids be able to look at these numbers and understand your spin rate and how your ball's moving and what that means.
Yeah, it depends on the age. I think to some degree it's important for kids.
Right. Where would you say you start? looking at numbers.
Yeah, what age?
Yeah.
Probably 15 or 16. I think when they're producing a ball flight that needs to be measured, but if they're producing a ball flight, it doesn't necessarily need to be measured. Then what are we looking at?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're pitching at an elite level and you want to start dissecting what you're doing versus what hitters are doing a little bit, yeah. So.
Yeah, pitching's crazy with all the metrics. I mean, that's your job. All sports are using them now, though. Yeah, metrics. I mean, look at the NBA, and they're tracking like
NBA, NFL is using it. MLB, they're all using analytics in some way, shape, or form.
We have an alumni who his name is TJ Barra. He's I don't know if he's the head analyst, but he's one of the head analysts for the Milwaukee Bucks. And to listen to him discuss how they use analytics to basically get the ball to wherever they want for whoever they want is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible how they're using it.
it's wild. That's wild. Yeah, just in terms of what guys, in terms of how they play the game, how they move on the court.
Mm-hmm. Where they are, the time period in which they're in each spot, what shots work, what shots don't work on average.
Yeah.
It's a game of averages, I think, in a lot of ways.
Right.
Much like baseball is, like which pitch do I throw here? Right. He's hitting 093 on cross count changeups or whatever it is, right?
Is that what this bridge seminar is that you host? It's a bunch of people who specialize in getting metrics and data and how they apply it.
Not just data specifically, but where it's people who specialize in their sector of the game more so than anything else. So a lot of them use data, yes, of course, but some of them are just flat out really great coaches and great at what they do. I would say it's more about how can we literally bridge the gap between the pieces of the game. And, if you got your biomechanists, you've got your strength coaches, you've got your pitching coaches, you've got your doctors, so on and so forth. And I just feel like so many of them are spread across and apart from each other.
Yeah.
That the thing that's really necessary for our game right now is to bring those groups together and start speaking a common language. So that's the idea behind it.
Yeah, the hard part working with youth athletes is you can have so many cooks in the kitchen and the cooks don't talk to each other. It's like, right, like a kid goes somewhere to lift and then maybe they lift at school too, and then they have a pitching coach somewhere, and maybe they're in PT because they have something that's bothering them. And it's like it's all stimulus going into this person's body. It's all load and it's all movement that you have to account for. But yeah, you need communication.
Yeah, it's going to one person.
Right.
That's the key. Is it's going to the players.
It's going to their brain psychologically.
Right.
And it's going to their body physiologically.
Yeah.
So so give us an example of different disciplines that are at the seminar.
Sure. So for who's speaking or for who's attending, I guess they're both the same
Well,
answers.
let's say for who's speaking.
So for who's speaking, I did it a little bit differently this year, and I'll give some background context. First is when we started this, our head coach came up to me my first year, and I just started, and I'm trying to figure out lots of different things and just how to do my job in general. And he goes, "Hey, what do you think about having a biomechanical conference?" And I was just shrugged, and I was like, "Sure, that sounds good." I didn't really know what I was getting into. And then before I knew it, it had just completely exploded. And we had 28 of 30 teams sending their entire minor league pitching staffs to come listen to this thing. And I had this thing in my lap that I didn't really expect to have in it, but I saw what it would mean for our program, and I saw what it would mean for potentially for baseball because of the people that were sitting in the room. So we had almost all of Major League Baseball there in terms of pitching. We had minds like Matt Hobbs and Jimmy Buffy and Nunzio Signore and Eric Jagers is coming this year, and Brian Bannister was last year, and just try to get the heavy hitters. And then before you knew it, we had 6 or 7 to 10 big league pitching coaches and directors of pitching and front office members sitting and listening to this stuff. And I realized we had a real chance to impact things because of who was there. So it's a lot of different walks of life and walks of the game all in kind of one place.
Yeah, because us as strength coaches, okay, so you're taking info that you're seeing, pitch metrics and biomechanics. What do you then, if you have a meeting with your strength coaches for your pitchers, what types of things are you relaying to them that they can then take and apply in the weight room?
It's not necessarily one specific thing. It's more our own philosophies. We're sharing our philosophies. We got to get on a different page, or we got to get on the same page from different pages, right? So how do we see movement? okay, so if I know that, if he knows what I'm trying to get out of this guy, right, or how I'm trying to get him to move, then I need to know how he's going to train that in the weight room, and vice versa, right? So that needs to come back and forth. So I think it's different for each person, but it's the philosophy that we're trying to get on the same page for.
Because I think the trouble with, and things are definitely it's better over the years than when I first started working in this field in 2010. And I got lucky because I started coaching in 2010 or 2011, and then I did an internship with Eric Cressy in 2013. So kind of early I got exposed to what I think is a very good philosophy in terms of training baseball athletes. But you get still in this field this old school powerlifting and bodybuilding approaches in the weight room with athletes, which is great for putting on size and getting bigger, which you need to. We said that was the most important variable. But I think that can limit how your body moves, because you think if you're just bench pressing, heavy squatting, deadlifting, you're just working in this sagittal plane, so this like forward and backward plane. And I feel like if you do too much work there, your body gets stiff and you lose motion in other planes, and pitching so rotational.
Especially rotation.
Yeah,
you beat
that's
me to it.
the most
Yeah.
important thing.
It's the most important thing. And you rotate straight, you rotate in sagittal plane. But you need to rotate through that direction.
Well, yeah, sagittal plane movement is happening, but it's not
Right.
only sagittal plane
But
movement.
it's sponsored by rotation, right? It's in
Right.
the direction in that plane. I think that's the important piece.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you can use these lifts to get the like hormonal effect and to challenge those muscles, but you still have to rotate really well. You can't lose that.
Well, I think we should think about the relationship between strength and pitching as simply as possible, which is if we're going to produce force, we should train force.
Right.
Plain and simple, right? So we're trying to line up dominoes so that when your dominoes are lined up, it's ready to receive and transfer that energy throughout the sequence. And then you can focus on how hard you're hitting the domino sequence over and over again. And
Right.
that's where strength and conditioning comes into play.
Right. But then can you look at specific exercises? Like, I guess, have you ever had a guy and you go, his deadlift is big enough, his squat is big enough, I don't need to train this for max strength anymore, the risk could be too high?
Well, that would be a better question for our strength coach, but yes, I mean we look at where he's strong and where he's weak, and we try to maintain the strengths and improve on the weaknesses. But I think we do that collectively, not just in the weight room.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think one thing we've done here over the years is with guys who have this good baseline of strength, it's like, let's include exercises where they are training more rotation. We'll add in a lot of like opposite arm reaching on rows and presses to get the rib cage and the thoracic spine moving, like on top of a stable lower body. Chops, lifts. It's like all these things in baseball that become very important that you can do in the weight room that's going to translate over.
How are you assessing each person individually?
In terms of assessing what, let's give a specific thing.
Where are they strong, and where do we need to improve on things? How are you guys going about that process?
I think with a high school kid, it's like just, okay, how much do they weigh? How strong are they? Like that's your baseline.
Yep.
Can you address those big rocks first? Like, let's just get strong and let's put on some weight, and we're going to get after it in the weight room. Like, do a very basic program. Like, do some squats, do some deadlifts, do some lunging. And then once you've kind of reached this point where that's something we've talked about a lot. Like, when has somebody, we feel like, maxed out their strength bucket? Like, if we put any more in here in terms of doing a heavy lift, is it worth it? I think we're always looking at their movement, but then we may be even more of like a sniper on their movement patterns. Like, now let's really make sure you can, rotate as efficiently as you can. Where you have a 12-year-old, like, they're probably going to rotate okay. If not, we can work on it, but it may not have to be as detailed.
Yeah. Right. They're not malleable, the 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
They just need to grow.
You're right. And also psychologically, it's like I can't explain to a 12, 13-year-old, not many of them,
Right.
why we're doing this exercise where you got to stay still and hold your front leg here and rotate this way. It's like their brain's not going to grasp that.
No.
So our time's better spent like, let's just get after it. But maybe a college guy, a pro guy, then maybe we need to be there in the gym.
I would wonder if the better you guys are at like establishing constraints or activities to train them to do things that they don't even really know that they're doing to build that foundation would be a better way to go about it with 12-year-olds, the smaller kids. Because we all the time in the lab, we get parents who are looking for their kids to get better, and they're just too young. They're too young.
Like, do you have young kids reaching out looking for their parents looking for analysis of their kid?
Yeah, we do get that. I would say it's smaller now. I think we advertise, maybe not advertise, but we entice the older kid, the high school kid or the college kid or the pro ball guy.
Right. I had a dad DM me on Facebook the other day. This kid's 6 years old. I said, dude, you should be watching like TV and playing sports all year and like
eating
How
Lucky
about running
Charms.
around?
and running around. How
Eating
about
Lucky
that?
Charms, yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, like, get back to me when he's in like 7th grade and ready to go. It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, but parents are willing to shell it out. As you say, you have to have like this moral ground and this ground to be like, hey, I'm not going to take your money. Just have your kid run around.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And we also aren't going to babysit.
No, I'm also not going to babysit, man.
Like, we got adults in here. We got high school kids, college kids, and then you got a 6-year-old running around. It's like, okay. Yeah.
No thanks.
6-year-old, yeah.
When is the bridge seminar?
It's December 1st through December 3rd.
And it's right at the lab, right?
It is actually, it's in the business school
Okay.
at Wake, so it's on campus. We have this beautiful 400-person auditorium, and it's very TED Talk style.
I like
It
that,
goes
though.
through the weekend,
What?
yeah.
Maybe I asked you this last time, but I don't remember all of last time.
Yeah, that's okay.
What
fair.
did you study in school?
So I studied mass communications, which is exactly what you would expect, right? And then I got my master's in business administration.
Do you feel like you're applying anything that you learned in school to your day-to-day work now?
That's a great question. I want to say no, but that's not the truth. You know what I learned, I think, better than anything else in school was reading and writing. I learned how to write really well. That's definitely served me quite well, for sure.
I think that's a lot. It sounds so simple, but like that's how, I mean, you go back to the earliest of times, that's how information got passed on,
Right.
was through writing. And now I feel like that's a skill that a lot of kids don't work on in terms of the age of TikTok and the internet.
No, they don't. They don't.
Nor,
try to
nor reading do they explore. Most kids, I would assume.
No. Yeah, they don't. They try to. It's short, right? The social media idea. It's like they're short little blurbs and sentences and bullet points. They're not long and drawn out.
Right.
They're not practicing how to build a vocabulary
No.
and how to speak. It's really important.
And those short clips are just grooming you to not
Yeah.
want to do that because it's just like, oh, okay, I got it. Good. 3 seconds. Done.
It might be the cornerstone of what I do. The more I think about it, because it's really just it's taking the ability to understand the science and the really hard stuff, and then communicate it and translate it in a way that makes sense to somebody.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I would be able to do that if I didn't learn English the way that I learned it.
It's almost
So you're using it.
100%.
yeah. It's almost like you're
Thanks for convincing me of that.
take the complicated and make it simple, and how can I relate? It's the same thing in here,
It's so
like
different.
there's so much shit that goes into doing a deadlift, and then we have to be like, okay, how do I teach this 14-year-old that's brain is going 100 miles an hour to deadlift?
I have a friend who is learning to teach Pilates, and she's been telling me all about it. And she's got to do 500 hours of Pilates training.
Yeah, yoga training is like that too, I think.
500
Yeah,
hours.
yoga
is
something like
crazy.
that too, like 500 or 1,000 hours.
It's
something
like a ridiculous amount of time. And so I've never heard of Pilates. I don't know what Pilates is. So I had to literally Google Pilates. I spelled it wrong like 4 times. I didn't get it right.
Yeah, it's what, like, I don't want to explain it wrong if there's like Pilates people listening.
Well, I'll give you the best way I can explain it is they're lying on a table doing exercises. The
Yeah.
table moves and
It's like a lot of core stability. Like I had a guy who
Yeah.
I trained one-on-one, and he did Pilates like once or twice a week. And like some of the things that he was telling me he was doing, I was like, what? How?
very athletic.
Dan Jones,
Yeah.
you ever do Pilates?
Every day.
Shout out Dan
Maybe
Jones,
that's 'cause we
podcast
sleep out of
debut.
bed in the morning. I'm not sure.
Spell Pilates. What do you got?
I can spell it.
I'm gonna give my best go. Pilates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a capital P though. My phone autocorrects it every time.
It has to be capital. It's a
Just
proper
what
noun,
it
right?
does. I've
That's
never
right.
Does
When I
it
type
still
that word.
autocorrect, guys? If you type glutes, it does flutes. Does it still
that's
do
fun.
that?
I don't know.
Every fucking
I
time.
don't know. No,
But
I don't think
fucking
so.
still does get autocorrect.
No,
to
I think
ducking.
they fixed it so it doesn't go to ducking.
Not always.
Oh,
Swear enough, it won't.
It's fair.
But anyway, so the Pilates.
Anyway, the Pilates.
She's telling me about how like there's so much rotation involved in isolation, and she's like, I think it's really similar to what you guys do in the lab. And the more I listen to it, I'm like, this is really similar. And then she's telling me about the people that she's teaching, right? So she's like, I learned that I had to use different cues for this person. I had to learn to use different cues for this person. I'm like, you're coaching. There's no difference.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we all do. So it doesn't matter what facet you're in. I think it's just human communication and teaching.
That's the underlying important piece is human communication. It's like if somebody in front of you and you have all this knowledge you want to pass to them to help them, But if you can't click into them, that they trust you, that they like you, that they're going to listen to you, nothing you have in your head is going to make its way to them.
Yeah. One of the more enjoyable things for me is when we take the really hard science stuff and we make it so simple and we show him and it makes perfect sense to him, and he's just like, wow, this just so easy to understand, when you know that like a decade's worth of work went into just helping him understand.
Right. And what opens the door for you to pass on the info just could be you asking them about their favorite TV show or music or something simple. And now all of a sudden the door can start to open and you can start to relay that info and they can learn.
How much do you guys use music in here?
A lot.
A lot.
And what do you use it for?
You're saying music playing, like listening to it. I mean, it's on all day in here in terms of to set the vibe and to set the environment. Music's an interesting topic in here because in our business model, it's small groups. So you can have a variety of different people, different ages, adults, kids. So we'll look at an hour always and be like, what can we put on that's going to appeal to
It's tough.
most of the crowd? So that's tough, but it's there to set the tone and set the vibe and the environment. I always think of, I think it was a UAlbany basketball game once I walked into, and it was like Future was bumping. And I walk in and I'm like, oh, I'm fucking ready right now.
Ready to go.
Like, I'm ready to go. I'm feeling excited for this game, and I have nothing invested in the game, but I'm charged up now. It's that feeling. I
Yeah.
want somebody to walk in the door and they go, okay, they feel like me listening to Future at the UAlbany game.
It's what a walkout song is.
Yeah.
It's what a walk-up song is.
Yep.
It's the same, it's you're setting the pace of the crowd, of the environment of the moment.
Right.
You're making it your frequency.
I mean, just think of what's his the closer for the Mets that got hurt. And
Diaz.
Yeah, like
Right.
his walkout, Mo's walkout when he came out and like setting the tone. Yeah, you're not gonna hit the ball.
It's electric.
Yeah.
Braves
What,
and the Rangers.
what was your walkout? Your favorite walkout that you ever
question.
used?
Good question. I don't know if I really had a favorite one.
What would you use now?
Wow.
If
Yeah,
they
that's
said
a good question.
Mike,
That's a good
they
question.
said Mike, we need you right now. You got to go out there and throw.
Oh,
You're
I don't know
saying
that I have a good answer.
put
I
on
really gotta
what?
think about. I wish I had a really good answer to this, but I don't know that I do.
Did you hear J. Cole do the Wake Forest reference
We
in
did,
the
yeah,
Drake
we did
song?
hear that. Yeah, it's awesome. It came
Yeah.
out, boy, you should have seen the way that traveled through.
Oh, did the guys play it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, they probably
Oh, yeah.
love it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my rules in the lab is it cannot be quiet in here. We have a it's a Behringer. You ever seen one of these? It's a concert speaker. Like, you go to a concert and it's like one of those giant speakers. We have one of those in the lab that someone bought. And then I looked up, they're like $250. I'm like, amazing how cheap these things are. And the thing just bumps. It rocks the whole building. And I'm so into it because it sets the rhythm, it sets their pace, but they match their frequency to whatever music that they're playing. And I think there's I did a lot of work and reading for myself in the meditative space, but on brainwaves and how to change your brainwave states and what you're doing in each brainwave states. And there's a way to hack that, and there's a way to have conscious decision over it. And one of those ways, I think, is listening to music. And we're trying to change their states. But I think there's a way to get into their subconscious to teach them these things that we're trying to install on them through their music.
But what are you saying? It's like a specific beats per minute, a specific
No, I think so we talked about music last time, obviously, but so I have an idea of what you guys like. But whatever you like is like kind of the frequency you exist at. Like it matches your frequency, right?
Yeah.
To some degree. And then you match different frequencies and different experiences at different times for different reasons. But, think of a song that like, I don't know what this would be for you guys, but think of a song that brings you back to somewhere like immediately. Right? There's a memory associated with that rhythm and with that pace, and I like to try and take that idea to teaching them to move. And then you could do the same thing with their walkout song. So every time they hear that walkout song, like they're amped up, like they're ready to go.
It's interesting you say that too, because I think of it in a sense that when you have let's say you have that athlete that's always at 100, you can't get them to bring it down. Like I know people that are like that, and they'll listen to during a workout fucking R&B, and I'm like, how can you do that? Because if I listen to it too much, I'm going to be too gassed up for everything, and I'm not going to be
watering
able...
them down.
So
Yeah.
it's it is interesting how, like you said, music can affect brainwaves or whatever it is to help you figure out where to get this athlete where you want them to go, and how that can, whether it's you need something to get them hyped up, or you need something to bring them down a little bit so that way they're not too gassed up when they're on the mound or in the batter's box or playing basketball, whatever it is.
Yeah. Meditation's an important part of your life, right, Mike? You talked about it last time.
Yeah, it's huge. Huge.
How much do you know, when you see guys that are tightly wound and they have anxiety and they have a lot of stuff going on, will you talk to them about that, or is that something you refer out to somebody else?
Sure. Well, both. Sometimes there's a process to that for sure on the mental health side of things, but I just in terms of helping them deal with everyday life, like just learning about themselves. Yeah, of course. No, that's a huge part of what we do.
And it like some of the stuff he was talking about with the music kind of reminds me of when we had Heather on, and she talked about like getting your body in equilibrium and all these different things that they use.
And yeah, she's a psychologist.
She's a psychologist, and she was talking about like how they coach you like to be able to get yourself in equilibrium, both like mentally, like heart rate, breathing, all of that kind of stuff. And there's like different techniques they use, and like she used Patrick Mahomes as an example when they were down with 13 seconds left, and they tested where he was at, and that was the calmest he was the whole game going into the game. Was 13 seconds left, down, we got to win or we're going home, and that was the calmest he was. So it's definitely a thing that can be coached, whether it's through music or some other facet. That's definitely something that's
self-awareness,
huge.
I think, is number one.
Just
teaching them. I think when we avoid our own internal problems is we're just delaying the inevitable, and it just starts building up. That's the biggest thing meditation has done for me is it just brings me back to ground zero, just to who I genuinely am.
Yeah, I think whether people know it or not, it's like, if you have a lot of conflict internally or with your relationships and you're not addressing it, you may not know it, but any other task you're going to do in your life is going to feel way harder. You may not know why it feels harder, but it feels way harder.
Those emotions and thoughts are in the way of you being present with whatever it is you're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, so huge. Yeah, it's a big piece with athletes, the psychology piece.
The supplement industry is like the Wild West. The lack of regulations mean the supplements you purchase may not even contain the ingredients listed on the label, which is why I get my daily vitamins and supplements from Thorne. Thorne vitamins and supplements are made without compromise. Quality ingredients ensure your body optimally absorbs and digests your daily supplements, while in-house and third-party testing ensure you're getting exactly what you paid for. Thorne offers a variety of health tests reviewed by board-certified physicians that evaluate your lifestyle, gut health, sleep, stress hormones, and metabolic markers to determine which vitamins and supplements may be most effective in helping you feel and perform better throughout the day. For college and professional athletes, Thorne has NSF-certified supplements that make sure you won't get pop positive on a drug test. Whether you're an athlete, professional, parent, grandparent, or weekend warrior, Thorne's selection of high-quality supplements can help improve your quality of life. Switch to Thorne's high-quality and extensively tested supplements today at thorne.com/u/CDSF. That's thorne.com/u/CDSF. This episode of Off Exit 10 is brought to you by Anchor and the all-new Anchor Pro. Crafted to endure the most high-performance workouts without the high cost and space requirements of a standard cable machine. Named the best portable cable machine by Men's Health Home Gym Awards, Anchor provides the full functionality of a cable machine in one small space-saving unit. Designed with user-friendliness in mind, Anchor can simply be attached to any squat rack or placed on any wall in your home gym using its intuitive sliding track mount. With up to 65 pounds of resistance, Anchor is built for high speed and controlled exercises alike, from cable presses and rows to chops and lifts. The Anchor has been a game changer for us here at CDSF, and now you can enjoy the same professional quality cable machine in your own home gym by heading over to anchortraining.com and using code CDSF10 for 10% off your order today. Get all the benefits of a cable machine without the high cost and installation fees. Enjoy the portable luxury and space-saving performance of Anchor today by going to anchortraining.com and using code CDSF10 at checkout. That's anchortraining.com, promo code CDSF10 for 10% off your order today.
So we had you on in July, and then summer ball kind of wraps up, and we had none of this when we all played, but kids go through their tryouts for their next year's summer team at the end of the previous summer.
Right.
So parents now, they shuttle their kids to 6, 7, multiple tryouts to try to find the best fit. They just want to develop their kid. They want him to be in the best spot possible. What would you say are like the most important things in a travel program that somebody should have for a parent to say, okay, I'm going to trust them. They're going to do right by my kid?
Great question. How old are we talking?
We're talking, I think we see the most of the shuffling around at the younger ages, and then people settle in as they get older.
Right. Seventh, 8th grade.
Right. So just trying to find the right spot to exist in within the next 4 to 5 years, right?
Yes.
Yeah. They got to play the game. Like, it should not be about winning at that age, in my opinion. You want to have your kids try to win. You want to have your teams try to win. But that shouldn't be like, you shouldn't be playing the same lineup every freaking day because you're trying to win out whatever season. You know what I mean? You should be trying to develop these guys. And I think they need to play in order to do that. And they also just need to fall in love with the game. You know, so I would say, like, number one, maybe that's easier said than done, but find a place where it's evenly balanced between being fair and striving for them to be their best and to win, and not just all about winning. And finding someone who they're going to spend a considerable amount of time with this person. And kids that young are really,
They're going to spend a lot of time because now if you're committing to a travel team, I would say majority of them are going to have workouts and practices fall all year. All year.
it's a lot of time going into these people, right? I would say you want to find someone who's going to instill in them the way to deal with adversity, or handle making an error, or how to attack the baseball in the right way, or how to throw the ball over the plate. Like, teaching them like the really intangible things that, well, become intangible as they go on, right? They can be tangible when they're younger. I think that's really important.
How to compete.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And maybe that doesn't exist in every place, you know,
You're saying not everybody offers that.
that skill set, right?
No, they
Right.
don't. I think people get caught up in going to the fanciest tournaments, having your name on doing the PBRs and the perfect games. And we
Yep.
talked last time. There's a place for that.
There's a place for that for sure.
But you have to build all those other things before that's like your priority.
I think you just have to enjoy it.
Mhm.
Let's not lose the enjoyment of it. We're going to make it a job for a 12-year-old.
Right.
Right. I mean,
Why
that's
would we, you know what I mean?
the first thing I always ask.
I'm still doing this right now because I fell in love with the game when I was that young.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I do this.
Yeah. Who were your guys growing up that you watched? That you
in the
liked?
big leagues?
Yeah.
So I grew up a Yankees fan, and so the core four was like the guys that I watched all the time, right? So it was Jeter and Mariano and Pettit and Posada.
The best.
Yeah, but God, those teams were great, weren't they? Hideki Matsui and A-Rod stepped in, and
Yeah.
Just give me the 98 Yankees against
Mark
anybody.
Teixeira.
Teixeira, yeah.
So those are my guys.
Will
And
you
then-
ever have a core four again because of free agency? What's been the closest to it in baseball?
Braves have piled up a good young mix. Albies, Acuna, Strider. I think they signed.
Houston would have been able to, but then they let Correa go, so they were close with some guys like Altuve, Correa, Alvarez, and whatnot. But then Correa's gone now, so kind of killed that.
The difficult part is the teams who are not paying their players will develop them, but as soon as they develop to the point where they should get paid, then they won't get paid, so they'll leave.
Well, that's like
Right.
what was it this year? I think, unfortunately, he's probably never going to play again. But when Wander got his contract from the Rays, it was the most they'd ever paid somebody, and it was like, if you saw the contract, you'd be like, that's the most they've ever paid somebody. When you look at, what the Yankees will pay somebody, or the Phillies, or the Dodgers, and you're like, holy, like, it was like, I don't even think it was over $100 million and it was the biggest contract they'd ever signed somebody to. And meanwhile, you got Ohtani before he got injured, potentially getting $500-600 million. It's crazy. But you're right. The smaller market teams aren't going to pay, and then those guys will go to a bigger market, and that's that.
I think the golden era of baseball was that 03-04 Yankees Red Sox era.
Don't say that.
No, it was.
Years?
It just was.
I like the 98 to 2000 era.
Peep the shirt. Peep the shirt. Yeah.
But that era was great. And like we were talking about rivalries, was it yesterday or today? This morning, and how I just want to see it. Let me see the Yankees and Red Sox brawl. Like, give me a fight. What happened to that? Like,
but but the brawl is the build up from everything else.
Right,
It's
but there
the
is no build up of
level
anything now.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. They're
like
not
A-Rod and Veritek hated each other, and it was awesome.
right, but they were also two incredibly good baseball teams.
Yes.
Fighting for the same spot at the end of it. You know, like I think that's what sparked that rivalry, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah, that's very true. And like that's why, like now we were saying, Rays and Astros are like the teams that I hate more than the Red Sox, especially the Astros,
You hate the Astros because of the
'Cause they cheated.
The cheated.
because they cheated.
Like Michigan now is in it in their football with the sign stealing.
Yeah.
But is everybody doing it?
Well, Michigan's claiming that everybody was doing it.
Probably.
Not everybody was probably recording signs, but not everybody was banging on trash cans, telling you, "Oh, fastball, 2 bangs,
Right.
curveball, 3 bangs. All right, you know what's coming." as a pro hitter, you're probably going to be able to hit the baseball pretty well. If you know what's coming, you can just be like, all right, let me just time this up.
What's worse, cheating? Steroids or stealing the signs?
Oh, it's stealing.
Stealing signs, because you could be the most jacked guy in the world and you can't hit the ball. It doesn't matter.
You still have to hit it.
Yeah.
Definitely still have to hit it. Neither is good.
No, but I would say I agree that the sign stealing and blatantly like telling your guys this is the pitch that's coming, like that's worse than the steroids, because now if you combine the two, well, that team's gonna hit like 7,000 home runs.
Will steroid guys ever be in the Hall of Fame?
Well, one of them is
Who?
Poppy,
Oh, yeah. How does that happen where one guy slides in?
because he's a likable guy.
He's a likable guy. We
It comes down to that.
my wife's mom's, her company had season tickets for a long time, and we lived in Boston. She would give them to us when clients didn't want them. And we would sit, it was, fantastic seats, like the 4th or 5th row up behind the Sox on deck circle.
Was this when she met Al Horford?
Yes, there would always be celebrities down there. There was a picture of her and Al Horford. He's like 7 feet tall, and she's 4'11". It's a hilarious picture. But Big Papi, before every at bat, he'd come out. He must have had an endless supply of batting gloves, because he'd hand a kid a batting glove. This was before the screens were up. Mm-hmm. Dap him up, hand him a batting glove, say something to a kid every single time.
Yeah. Do you think they'll get in?
It's a tough thing to answer.
Besides Poppy?
Because here's the problem. Once you open up Pandora's box, then it's like, okay, well, who else should go in? And then they start talking about Pete Rose, and then they start arguing, okay, well, which one was worse? And Pete Rose probably, he bet on games, but he probably bet on himself. So did that incentivize him to like play better? And
Right.
that's why they haven't done anything, I think, because it's just how can you please everybody to some degree? But I don't know. Their numbers make it seem like they should probably get in at some point. You just can't ignore them to some degree.
I mean, I think the likability factor definitely goes into it, because when you think about some of the other guys, A-Rod, Bonds, Clemens, Palmeiro, what he did on the stand, McGuire, like these guys aren't like the most likable guys in the media.
Sure.
Whereas you got Big Papi, like you said, he's going to kids in every game.
Every time, man.
And like as a Yankees fan, I hated Poppy on the Red Sox, but I'm like, dude, Poppy's like, he played for the Yankees. That'd be kind of cool. Like he's a cool dude. Like I like Poppy, but he played for the Red Sox, so screw him. You know, but I think that does make a factor. Like you said, you open up Pandora's box.
But okay, with pitching, Dan and I were talking about this earlier this week. It's unique. It's a unique skill, and it's not like football or basketball where you look at somebody and you go, he's a center. He's a running back. He's a tight end. Pitching comes with all different body types. It's like Bartolo Colon, and there's Randy Johnson,
Pedro Martinez,
Lincecum. It's like, okay, you're looking at videos of all those guys throwing. What are the common things that you're seeing? You're like, they all look so different, but like they do this.
No, they all do this. So great question. And you started that question exactly the way that I like to explain this one. So if let's pick two of those guys. So let's pick Bartolo. And give me one more.
Pedro.
All right, perfect. All right. So if you picture both those guys go through their delivery, and even Bartolo at different points in his career, like two different pitchers, right?
How long was his career? He had a decent career.
He had many different versions of Bartolo Colon. Yeah.
Paul, how many years was his career? Good.
20-something. 20.
Was it 20?
It's incredible.
It's incredible. But if you look at these guys move in full speed, you can see why they're so different. And we can go through lots of reasons why they're different, right? So they're different people. So they have different genetics and an expression of DNA, but they're from different places. They go into different high schools or different colleges or drafted by different orgs, taught different things. But the traumas they've had in their life and the things they experience, like we could just go on for forever why these things are so different, not even getting into the physical. But then when you look at them and you break them down frame by frame, where you look at them biomechanically, they almost all exclusively do the same things in the same order. So it doesn't mean they're carbon copies of each other. It means they're following the same sequence in which they're moving their bodies. Very much like a domino sequence. So one goes after the other in a specific order. Now, what makes them look so different, in my opinion, is when you zoom out, the way that they express those commonalities and how they move through that sequence and inject energy through that sequence is what makes them look so different. So, for example, like everyone's pelvis who's an elite thrower or pitcher is going to move underneath their trunk, right? And then the trunk goes underneath their shoulder, so just hip-shoulder separation. So the order in which those move is going to be about the same. but the amount of difference between each one, the direction that someone's turning in, the speed in which they turn at, the time in which they initiate all of that rotation, all of those are completely unique to the individual. And that's what makes someone look so different when you zoom back out.
Right.
He 21 years. He pitched till he was 45.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible.
What was Jamie Moyer?
Oh, Jamie Moyer, the legend. I think
Was he 50?
Jamie Moyer
He was up there.
He was up there.
I think of him and like
Might have been 50.
like Ruben Sierra put in a long career. He could have been
Julio Franco might have been the oldest.
Ah, right.
He might have been. Jamie
Nelson
Moyer
Cruz
was up
is
there.
still cooking too, man.
He
That
just
guy-
retired.
Oh, he
just
did? Oh,
retired.
he's done. Okay.
Yep, he literally just retired.
Wow.
Jamie Moyer, 25 years.
What was his final age?
He was 40. So he 47 in 2010, missed 2011, and then was
amazing.
49 in 2012.
It's amazing.
He also has given up the most home runs ever in the history of baseball.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, he played that long. You're gonna give
He
up
has
some
the
days.
most. He's given up 522 home runs.
It's like the
It's a
Brett
lot.
Favre and touchdown passes and interceptions. It's like you keep slinging it, it's
an
gonna
asterisk,
happen.
Yeah, no doubt.
Paul, can you hand me an alchemy? Thank you.
What are these? What is this?
Drink alchemy.
It's like a nootropic,
It's a nootropic drink. So this guy, Anthony Flask, he lives in Boston, started this company because he was sick of people just pumping energy drinks down their throat. They're not good for you. It's just, we don't need all these stimulants. So this is like lion's mane, L-theanine. So it's all stuff derived from mushrooms.
Wow, that's awesome.
And then it's a little bit of caffeine. I think 75 milligrams from green tea. But I believe the nootropics in there, so the derivatives from mushrooms, they help balance out the caffeine so you don't get, the stimulant effect.
I started taking lion's mane fairly recently. The first time I took it, I went, "Wow, something's different here. Something's different here." It's really sharp, real mental clarity.
I think
That's interesting.
there's something to it. There's
Yeah.
something to the nootropics. It's like, I don't know who first put them on the market as supplements, maybe On It and Alpha Brain or somebody probably did it before.
I think it might have been Alpha Brain because I remember when I worked at GNC, I remember them starting to come in, and I was like, "Huh, these are interesting."
Right.
I'm like, I like caffeine too much.
Do you mind? Can I?
Oh,
Yeah,
go for
go
it,
for
please.
it.
Yeah. We'll crack these open. Shout out Drink Alchemy. Yeah, these are delicious. And I feel
You're not
good.
allergic to pineapple, are you? Because Dan can't drink them because there's pineapple in them.
We got all these energy drinks I can never drink.
Oh wow, that's good.
Yeah, they're great.
Oh wow,
We need another flavor is what we need though.
that's worth dying from pineapple allergy.
All right, Dan, give it a go.
I'm so sorry, man. You're allergic to pineapple?
Pineapples
Yeah,
are
I'm not
nice.
really made for tropical climates, man. It's pineapple and aloe, so tough.
Have you guys ever salted your pineapple?
No,
Seriously, put salt on your pineapple.
just like I'm having fresh pineapple salted up.
It's amazing.
No,
It's
dude.
amazing.
You got me on the Jeffersons. That's one of my favorite whiskeys now, so I'll take your advice on the
Two
pineapple.
for two, man. I'm trusting
Cheers.
on the pineapple.
As long as
Cheers.
you're not doing what
No
was
doubt.
that mustard watermelon challenge, please tell me you didn't do that.
Ooh.
What's
Yeah.
that?
There was people like that said that it was really good. They were like putting mustard on watermelon. They said it was good.
On
And
the
I was-
internet?
Yeah, it was on the internet.
Not a
How,
psychopath.
you're not a social media guy, truth?
Very true.
I
Very
love
true.
it.
I do
That's-
because I have to.
I feel like that's
To some degree.
But you don't post a lot.
Don't post a lot.
I'm impressed by it because people know who you are. When we have you on here and you're a baseball person, like, oh, I'm McFerran. That's great. They listen. We had a lot of good feedback last time. But you don't pump it out on social, which is great. Is that a conscious decision by you?
Yeah, I don't like the attention. I don't want the attention. That's not what I do it for. You
Right.
know? If I had a more time to maybe put a message out there for people, then I would do it more often, just so I could give. But I think I'm trying to do that in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Public speaking or coming on things like this or writing some pieces or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, not so much.
I don't like the distraction of it.
Well, that's what I hate. I mean, like if I have to post something, I'll re-download it and then take it right off my phone.
Right.
Because it just takes any. Now, what I will say is like, there's so much information. If you find the right avenues to like find posts that are really call to you and can help your life, like I have like thousands saved where I'm like, this is really powerful stuff. You know, so there definitely is a positive aspect to it too. But I would just rather not be on my phone.
yeah.
100%. It's crazy now. Our daughter is, and I try to make a conscious effort to not have my phone out around her. But I must have had it out just enough where if I'm on the ground with her and my phone's next to me, she's making a beeline to that phone and trying to grab it. And you're like, oh, fuck, I gotta hide this thing and not have her see me with this out.
It's
Yeah.
addicting. It's addicting.
It's a real thing too, because they go for it, man. And then they want to sit there and they're just like, oh. And then all of a sudden you're calling 911 and you're like, shit. CPS is showing up. And you're like,
So back to the what we You mentioned how so each pitcher looks so different, right? So quick, I want to tie that in a bow real quick. So when you teach them to move in the same structure but allow them to express that as an individual, number one, you systemize what you're doing, but you teach them as an individual, which I think is really the key, is the marriage of those two things. You're systemizing and individualizing it at the same time. But what we found in a pitching staff, and I think the best pitching staffs at the big league level do this, is we call it having all the animals at the zoo.
Okay.
So this is from Corey Muscara, pitching coach, who got this from Ed Blankmeyer, I believe. But he said, you want all of the animals in the zoo, meaning like you go to the zoo and you don't just look at like 1,000 tigers, otherwise you get really bored. Like you want to see one of each of every kind of animal, right? Or a Noah's Ark type of situation. So what we want is like a guy with a really high release height that has like something really downhill, or a really low release height with something flat, and everything in between, righties and lefties. But we try to find what each individual is really, really good at, and then pin that about his design, and then make sure that it's completely different from everyone else's, so that every single time you put in a new pitcher, that lineup has to face something completely different than they just got used to.
Does that obviously dictates how you recruit and how you pull guys from the transfer portal when you see something and you go, this is a different animal to bring into our zoo?
Sean Sullivan. It's exactly that. We saw a lefty. He had the lowest slot from a lefty in college baseball, and with the most carry at the same exact time. And we went, we got to have that.
Right. And, okay, when I did my McFerran search to see what was new with you before he came on, Chase Burns articles popped up like crazy. That's another transfer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who throws it hard.
Throws it real hard. That's his strength. They all have strengths, and we try to look through their data to find those strengths, and his is pretty obvious. He's the 100th percentile on all 5 pitches that he throws in velo. I was actually sitting next to him probably like 2 weeks ago, and we were looking through data. He's trying to learn data. He's trying to learn the language of it. I'm just walking him through our app, and I go, here's your metric. Here's the percentile, so you can get some context and know, is it good, is it bad, is it indifferent? And I'm looking through, and his velocity is of the 100th percentile on every pitch that he throws. And I'm just like, this is your strength. This is not usually the conversation I have with guys, but this is yours right here.
How do you know if or when somebody is physiologically maxed out and how hard they can throw a pitch?
Wow.
Like there's like I don't know how much more I can do for you, weight room wise, mechanics wise, tweaks in your delivery, to increase this velo.
Yeah, it takes some feel for that for sure. I don't know if there's a real answer to that. I do it through feel. I just I know when I think they're done and it's time to leave them alone.
Right.
Burns very much like that. So we got him to rotate his back leg. We emphasized the direction he uses his lead arm to have this topple Ferris wheel type of rotation. And so he came in and his fastball carry was decent, but I wanted to make his fastball carry really, really clean. And so what we did was we started teaching him to rotate his back leg the proper way, so he would wind up his body into landing and then unwind his body after landing as an effect. And he started pulling through the middle of the baseball, and his average velo went from 96.4 to 99.1. It's like we're looking at these numbers, and it's like, dude, it's 20 inches of carry, and he's sitting 98 to 101 in the fall. And we're like, wow, okay, so this is your strength here. Now we just need to put it over the plate as often as possible and focus on the pitching side of it. So, but just as an example of you kind of know, okay, it's taking hold, the design is working. Leave him alone. Let's just let him pitch now.
And also, it's everybody has, you have your genetic makeup. Mm-hmm. You have, probably what your set is going to be to how much weight you can gain. And you only have a certain amount of type 2 muscle fibers. Yeah, you can transition someone like the type 1As, but that's what you are. You have this is your engine. Yeah. And at some point, we got to just make the most of what you have.
Well, I think the point in that story is it's about what the ball is doing. And if the ball is getting the result that you want it to, then it's time to back away. So It's not but we could squeeze a little more out of you. It's no, if you're maxing out what you have and we can use it to our advantage, you're probably done.
Right, and you're seeing elite guys. These are elite level guys. On the younger end, could you be a high school senior? You've trained, you've worked hard, and that's it. That's what you have. There's no more climbing from here in terms of your velocity. Or is that wrong? Can you always find something?
I think you can always find something.
Yeah.
I do, to the degree that you can always find something. That's the question. Let's look at Trevor Bauer. Like Trevor Bauer is the perfect example of this, where he's not overwhelmingly incredible at anything, but he's a great college pitcher. But he's the famous story of him is that he looked inside every nook and cranny to make his game to the next level, and he used his intelligence to get better rather than his physicality.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you stand on, I'm just trying to think of questions we get in here from parents. Where do you stand on the use of weighted balls? That's a loaded question because there's so many variables and everybody's so different, but let's just start like general and then we can kind of work our way down.
Yeah, and we can get into some of the arm stuff we're doing too, because I think this fits into that conversation.
Okay.
But so we've stopped throwing really heavy for the most part. So I'll just use the driveline balls as an example because I think that's what most people are common with. So that I've seen a lot of guys throw the green and the blue balls that are super heavy at full speed.
Are the
forward.
drive lines the ones that mark up our walls?
Free advertising for driveline.
If you have wooden walls, I guess they know what they're doing because they have a logo that
It's got the
sticks out.
stamp on
It
it.
stamps our walls, yeah.
We started using Marv balls. Have you guys heard of these?
Marv's
Yeah.
balls.
We love these.
Jordy,
man.
look up the logo for Marv's balls.
Yeah, we use Mars balls.
Do you know what the logo is for Marv's balls?
It's a chicken, right?
I think it's a rooster.
A rooster,
It's a
right?
cock and balls.
Oh wow,
Yeah, you think about that. It's genius.
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever noticed that before.
Oh, I noticed it
I
right
can't
away.
wait to bring that to the guys.
Yeah. We love Marv's balls. Dan,
These are awesome.
did you just throw Marv's balls to Mike?
Yeah, like,
Just one
you
of them.
just feel. Oh shit, sorry, man.
Fine.
Our stack, and then we get them out when we need them.
Jay, you want to squeeze? You want to squeeze Marv's balls, Jay?
Yeah, just looking at this logo.
Do they still have the rooster? Here, take Marv's balls.
So
Jay.
they're seamed.
Jay,
and-
confirm.
Yeah, it's just a ripped rooster doing band exercise.
Yeah, it's a real rooster doing that. Yeah.
Call 'em roosters, okay?
I wonder why that is.
Okay, Marv's balls.
No, I think we covered it. We started using these. Anyways, weighted balls. You guys are great. This is so much fun.
This episode of Off Exit 10 is brought to you by Drink Alchemy. Fatigue and brain fog affect us all, destroying everything we pursue. Whether as an athlete, artist, creator, or entrepreneur, our mind holds the key to performing optimally. By combining the most potent organic nootropics found in nature, Drink Alchemy delivers sustainable boost to creativity, memory, energy, and focus in one epic beverage. Stop pumping your body full of excessive amounts of caffeine and unknown proprietary blends from other energy drinks, and get clean energy from Drink Alchemy's natural nootropics like lion's mane, L-theanine, and caffeine from green tea. Used by Olympians, D1 athletes, MMA fighters, and entrepreneurs, Drink Alchemy has become a huge part of my daily routine, making sure I'm functioning optimally during long days of coaching athletes, running CDSF, and getting in quality workouts myself. So do yourself a favor and ditch the energy drinks loaded with caffeine, other stimulants, and who knows what else, and head over to drinkalchemy.com today. Live with your mind unbound and save 10% off your order by using code CDSF at checkout. That's drinkalchemy.com, promo code CDSF for 10% off your order today.
So I think there comes a point when it starts to get a little dangerous, where these guys. I think the larger question is volume and fatigue. That's the problem.
I think volume and fatigue and what your strength and stability is, right? Like you
Yes.
take a heavy ball and you throw, the weight is going to push you back into more layback.
Yes.
And if you don't have good strength and control into the external rotation, hence a lot of younger kids just aren't going to,
Yes.
it's not going to be the safest move for you.
Totally
agree?
Totally agree. We'll go back to the domino analogy real quick. So if they're slightly misaligned from each other, then that energy is going to snake all the way through. And what I think like a velo program, quote unquote, does, where guys just run and gun heavy weights and change their weights out back and forth, hoping something happens, is they don't necessarily line up that sequence. They just like try to knock down that
Yeah.
sequence as hard as possible.
Yes.
And the difference is those dominoes are tied together by, string, basically, right? Ligaments, tendons, whatever. And so what's taking the load of that pressure is those tendons and ligaments.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it's just so much better to line them up so that stress doesn't occur. They're ready to receive and transfer that energy, and then you can put as much force into it. I do think there's a purpose to weighted balls, mostly for feel. Like that feeling of like when you're swinging your bat in the on-deck circle and then you put the donut on your bat and it feels heavy obviously because it's heavier, and then you take the donut off and the bat feels lighter than it did like 3 minutes ago. I think there's a way to trick your arm into feeling something different by putting a different weight in it so that you can move differently. I also think it helps with elasticity a little bit. Like your arm is lagging behind a little bit more with a heavier ball than a lighter ball, so you're creating this longer tension, longer elastic effect that happens through it. And you're trying to delay the process between the lower body and the upper body to create that elasticity. So I do think it helps.
So it's used as like a constraint to get you to get them to move how you want them to move and feel what that should feel like.
Yeah, I've been trying to come up with a word for this because it's not constraint. It's
Right.
it's like a feel incentive. You know, something like constraint would be we're blocking them in a specific way so
Right.
they can't do something.
Right.
Right. But this is more of like an incentivizer from a neurological standpoint. So we do use it in that way. But I do think the level in which I should say the amount of throwing you do with each ball is really important to pay attention to because it is just tugging on everything as you do it. So there is a purpose to it, but I think we try to dilute it enough to where it doesn't get too dangerous to do.
So are you using it with everybody or no?
Weighted balls with everybody? Everyone that's healthy, yes. But we basically stick to the 8 ounce and the 5 ounce. That's pretty much it. We just go back and forth between those two. Other people might do it differently, and I could be convinced that there's a better way to do it than that. There's one interesting thing as I walk through video, their movements change when they're holding a heavier ball. And their movements change on flat ground too, which is another topic of conversation. So that's another interesting. I'm getting more and more sick of flat ground.
You rather have guys just be off the mound doing their drills.
Right? It changes? You see the same thing? It's so different. It's just
nowadays, if I have the space to get them on the mound to do plyos, every time I want them on the mound to do plyos.
Okay,
Me
so
too.
you're saying all their drill work and plyos. Well, obviously they're on this slope versus not on this slope. It's going to change the angles and the position and how they move, and you're not pitching from flat ground.
which is everything, dude.
Right.
So one of the more important things I've learned actually this fall is the first move the pelvis makes from leg lift. So when you get to the top of your leg lift, the pelvis is usually does two things for people. It either moves down, the center of mass just moves down, so they get to the top and then they drop like an elevator shaft, or they just go laterally outward with their pelvis. And if they go laterally outwards, the rest of their sequence is just completely thrown off. It's like the first domino that we end up seeing is what their center of mass does after they get to their leg lift.
So you want to see they get to leg lift, their pelvis is dropping.
Yes. Yep.
First, when you say shifting laterally means what? It's pushing back towards second base?
No, it's pushing out towards the
home.
plate.
Towards the
Yes,
plate. I
towards
see
the
what
plate.
you're saying.
They're
So
getting
what
too far
happens
in
is-
front, essentially.
Yeah, and they tilt their entire center of mass backwards and upwards, and then they land in a very awkward position, either on their toes or either on their heels, so not flat-footed.
Right.
And then it creates this window. Last time we talked about stride length, how important stride length is. I think this affects where they land and how they land, which for the same issue as a stride length problem creates a window of time or collapses a window of time when that rotation from the trunk leaks or gets sent back up into the arm because it's blocked.
So if you're doing a lot of drills on flat ground, are you potentially building bad habits, or it's going to be harder for you to transfer what you're working on when you get to the mound? 'Cause-
Maybe. Some of the stuff is tough. I mean,
Right.
what is your other option? I think the best way we figured out how to do it is just to you start on the mound. So we do plyos on the mound with a lot of guys, and then they do their workout, and then we finish with like 5 or 6 more off the mound, and just try to blend it as best as
Right.
we possibly can. But the game is so old. It's over 100 years old. That we're getting better and better. And I think the environment for the game is still the same, that's become a constraint that we have to try and work around. So it's kind of an interesting problem.
The environment, like what? Just old school habits?
No, just the physical environment.
Right.
Like we're the way practice is set up is like everyone's throwing on flat ground, but we're training in a different environment than when we actually
Right.
perform in.
Right.
All the time. You know, like imagine if you were,
Playing football on a basketball court.
Yeah.
yep,
Not gonna be the same thing.
or on ice.
Yeah, no, we're not doing that.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like you're training for ice hockey on the floor. That's kind of what that feels like to me.
Yeah.
At a much lesser degree, obviously.
Right, but still, it's similar because you're not performing in the way that you're going to in a game situation.
Right. And you're not moving through space. You know, like the interesting thing about baseball to me is we all have a very similar anatomy, right? So it's 2 arms, 2 legs, and a trunk. And we all live on planet Earth playing the same laws of physics. And so gravity affects us the same way, ground force affects us the same way, rotational rules apply to everyone in the same context, just how you use them that changes. But we're also we're playing the same game from the same distance with the same rules, like within the game, right? So it's like 60 feet, you got to throw it, and you're holding the same weight. There's so many commonalities. So there's only so many structural ways that you can really get energy into someone's hand, right? And so, but how they go about doing that is what I think makes them so different. But because we're playing those same rules as applying to everybody, like the environment that you practice on is really, really important. So when guys are on flat ground, you're training them to move more laterally. And just one of the things we found is like the more laterally they move on the mound, the worse they tend to be. The more elbow stress it seems that they tend to have. So they get fatigued more quickly. It changes your entire throwing program and how often they throw during the week or how much they can. You know, forearm strain happens or whatever. You know, not just because of one of those things, but those things pile up is my point.
You know what I've seen everywhere now, or is the Flex Pro grip? Is that what we talked about last time?
We talked about last time.
I feel like they're everywhere now. Like just between when you were on last, unless I'm just like more aware now. But I feel like I see all the college, like a lot of big colleges have them.
Yeah, we've been trying to help. I've been trying to help them. They not that they need it. I think they're doing awesome stuff on their own. They we've worked a lot with them. This is one of my projects for the fall, or our projects for the fall is.
So if people weren't listening last time, it's a device that a pitcher will put on their hand. It has different resistances for each finger, and it can strengthen individual forearm muscles based on where there's weakness.
Yeah, no, basically exactly right. And it the cool part about it is it's Bluetooth and it hooks up to your phone, so they're actually tracking it like a strength program. So they're taking the percentage of the numbers that are collected on the device, and then they're altering the program as you go by A, B, and C days, and strengthening the parts of your forearm that need to be improved upon. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I see it everywhere now. What about, another question with throwing, there's weighted balls and there's long toss. Where do you stand on long toss?
I hope Alan Jager's not going to listen to this one.
Let it rip.
No, every guy I've talked to that long toss loves it. That's not a coincidence. They all love it. Like they all just feel great when they do it. So for that reason alone, I like it. I do think it gets a little tricky when you're talking about the direction that someone rotates in. So if you get a sinker guy or someone that throws horizontal pitches and they rotate this way, then elongating their distance is forcing you to rotate more vertically and raise your slot just in order for you to throw it up into the air, which is again counterintuitive. So you're practicing what you're not going to be doing, basically, right? Or in something in a different way. So there's a middle ground for guys that rotate over the top or Ferris wheel. Like Mike Massey's one that comes to mind for us. He's the most over the top person I've ever seen. His extension 7.5 feet. It's freaking bananas. And he perfectly backspins the ball, actually to the point where he actually gets cut. So sometimes he'll get 21 inches of ride and actual cut, not just 4 or 5 inches of arm side lateral movement. So when he rotates, he's rotating in a straight line, and the farther out he goes, the more it encourages that movement pattern for him to continue doing. So again, individually based, I think.
Right. Because what people's intentions with long toss is what? I'm building arm strength through making myself work harder to throw the ball a longer distance.
Yep. Yeah, that's an aspect to it. I think there's a stretch shortening cycle. So you're teaching your body to be elastic and then decelerate from that pattern,
right?
Which is important. And then I think you're teaching your shoulder to do that as well. But I think for me, like that, it's a momentum thing. So you're gaining momentum into your throw. You're usually shuffling or crow hopping or whatever, which is important when you start going downhill again. And I think you're teaching an elastic movement.
Right. So, you have guys who are going to go through individuals now. When do you restart team stuff? That's after winter break?
Yeah, after winter break, yep. Yeah.
And then is the schedule out for this year?
It is. Yeah.
So who do you guys open against?
I was hoping you weren't going to ask.
No, you don't know? That's fine. Paul will look it up.
That's what I'm here for. That Wake Forest Demon Deacons baseball. 2024. Shit, maybe that's going to be the year.
Yeah, it sounds so futuristic, doesn't it? 2024.
You open against. Come on, internet. Give it to me. Well, are we talking like your very, very, very first game?
Yeah.
Fordham. February 16th.
Is it really?
Yep. Fordham, Illinois, Akron,
I mean, yes,
UNC
of course it's
Greensboro,
Fordham.
and then Dayton is your first series.
Yeah, right. Yes. Yep. It'll be here before we know it. We'll kick right into it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, quick.
Damn, you guys start so early.
It's the perk of being in North Carolina.
Yep.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's how much you look at when you're recruiting or you're looking at high school guys, is it different, like a northern guy versus southern guy in terms of innings they're throwing all year at younger ages? Because the South, there's you don't have those cold months where they're probably going to shut down.
Yeah, good question. I don't know that it factors into a ton of decision making, but I think it shows in the skill set. Again, you're in the South, you're just practicing in that environment more often. Would be my take on that.
Right.
Than you are up here, right? Either you're not doing it or you're doing it inside, which is different.
And you're able to throw off of a mound more often.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to worry about being in a gym
Yeah.
throwing off a flat ground that doesn't have a mound or something to elevate you
With
from.
cleats on. And,
Yeah.
Yeah, all those things make a big difference for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because what was your record last year? 50.
55 and 12. I think it was 55 and 12. Yeah.
Do you look at other rosters? Like, who's biggest competition this year when you look at things?
Well, in conference or out of
54.
conference? Oh, it's 54 and 12. All right, sorry.
In conference.
In conference. Well, what's interesting is it changes so often now with the transfers.
Right.
So it's the good programs that so Clemson's got a really good program. Florida State has the old Notre Dame coaches, and what we watched them do with Notre Dame 2 years ago, it was unbelievably impressive. And now they're going to do it with weather and an athlete or a more athlete-prone school. So that should be a really interesting combination.
Right.
But it's the same thing with us. Like I feel like we were, before we came in and made our turn, like we weren't someone that everyone thought of as like, the powerhouse that we're going to have to play in within a year and a half time. Like it just changes so quickly. That's just the landscape of college baseball now.
That has to help in terms of being appealing to guys now, in terms of coming in from the transfer portal and even recruiting.
For sure. It's free agency.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
With no contracts.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is now. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
wild.
and other schools are going to have to see what you're doing and you're going to probably see other pitching labs like you guys pop up all over the place, right?
Yep. And data analytics teams too. That's the other one, is they see the value of that for sure.
Yeah.
It's interesting to watch that domino effect take place.
Yeah. Because how big's your staff with analytics people?
It's 25 people.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it's a major league operation in a lot of ways, And now we're trying to apply that to biomechanics right now. We're getting on-field biomechanics and input right now, and we're trying to take that same philosophy into how guys move.
That's crazy. So what are 25 different people doing? They're all looking at different things?
Projects. They're doing projects. They're builders. That's the best. The data team's amazing. They're amazing. They listen to what we need. They understand our philosophy, and then they split up into groups, and then they build whatever we need. That's basically what they do, and they're amazing at it. So whether it's like competitive stuff or player development stuff or anything in between those things, they're just building the place to log into to understand and use all of that information.
They're building the tech.
Well, they're building the access to the tech, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, which is endless. It's like, how far can we go with these numbers? So we haven't reached that end. In fact, we've taken on more. They're helping us with throwing programs and understanding fatigue and volume, and so the two technological pieces we implemented. One is Flex Pro, which has a huge data component to it, actually, which is really interesting. And Next Tiles. So Next Tiles is an arm sleeve that has the technology woven into the fabric. And it gives us arm velocity and elbow torque on every single throw they make. It's completely game-changing. And we just download the CSVs and trying to make sense of everybody's throwing patterns over the course of a week or a month or whatever.
Yeah, because the torque, if you can make an adjustment from somebody and you can limit that load through their elbow, I mean, it's a game changer.
It's tough to limit it. It's more of we found it more as a tracker to this point. Yeah, hypothetically, yes, if you can decrease your elbow
Right.
stress over time, yeah, their bucket's not going to overflow as quickly. Excuse me. So that's a part of it. What we have found is that we can red flag when they're not ready to throw, which is where I think the elbow injuries happen most, is when they're fatigued and they try to throw through that, and guys just think, oh, my arm's just catching up to speed or getting used to it or whatever. Like, that's probably the most dangerous time they can actually make throws.
Yeah, it's crazy just to blend with baseball because it's such a traditional sport. There's crazy superstitions. What's the weirdest superstitions you've seen in baseball? Have you seen any with guys where you're like,
The
do
one
you
we were
really do
talking
that?
about before we started.
What were we talking about?
I don't know if we're going to give that one away.
The TK one.
Oh
on
no,
there.
that. But there's weird baseball ones like
What's the weirdest one before that?
I got to think about it. Yeah, that's definitely the weirdest
who
one.
didn't somebody like pee on their hands before at bats?
Jorge Posada.
Is that true?
Moises Alou.
Jay,
I
that's
believe.
true.
I remember it being true, but I'll look it up.
Yeah, I remember. I think it was those two were the two that I remember from our childhood. It was like something for like.
I had weird ones.
Like what?
I had to eat frosted mini wheats before every game, and I had to use a blue towel to dry myself off after I got out of the shower. I don't know why.
Superstition or routine?
No, well, it was both. It was both, but then I got to run rid of the superstition part. Yeah. Now I try to, like, whenever, because when you're still in baseball and you see these patterns, like, it's so easy to think like, oh, it's like if I do this, this happens, so I got to do this again, and I'm just like, I just try to shut that down. Like, I can't start thinking like that.
Well, it's funny because I was talking to one of our parents that works out here, and like the difference in watching, a baseball player work out, like weightlift, compared to a football or a lax player.
Yeah.
And baseball players are very, for the most part, not all of them, but very much like creatures of like routine. Like, okay, I got to do this, then I got to do this, then I got to do this, then I got to do this. And it's like if one thing gets thrown off, it's like, shit, okay. That you see the wheels turning, like this is how I got to adjust. Whereas like, I get a football player in here, they're just going to run through a wall if I tell them to.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why we focus on pace so much with everything. We time everything.
Right.
In music, same thing. It's a rhythm, it's a pace.
Yeah.
To it. Yep.
Jay, can you confirm?
Yeah, Jorge Posada, quote, "You don't want to shake my hand in spring training before the game."
That's amazing. He didn't wear batting gloves, right?
Didn't wear batting gloves.
Correct.
Neither did Moises Alou. I think it had something to do with that, like
Isn't that-
calluses on their
calluses,
hands. And
both of them would
Right.
Yeah.
pee on their hands for that reason. Yeah.
interesting.
I just texted you. Do you have your phone on you?
No, my phone's recording.
Oh.
You sent something?
What did you
Wait,
say?
it'll go to my computer. Paul's got it.
What do we got here?
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Yeah, Paul's
So I
got it.
sent you. So as I try and decide what is best to kind of speak on during the off season, I have I had this note I started called "Random Things That I've Learned."
Oh, I love it. Did you just send it to
Yeah,
Paul?
Yeah, I'm reading
so
it over
pick
a little
off
bit.
anything that you see.
Yeah. Paul, throw
Well, the
something
first
away.
thing I saw in here, like I was like just reading, and then I just happened to stop right at where it says college guys. College guys want to be treated like professionals, and professionals just want to be one of the guys.
Really
Which
good
is true.
point. Yeah. So, Paul, read that again, because this is a great statement if you're around.
College guys want to be treated like professionals, and professionals just want to be one of the guys.
Yeah. See, I remember when my first exposure to that was back when I interned at Cressy's. You got a gym full of college guys and pros. And yeah, sometimes a college guy may acts more entitled and thinks they should have this and deserves this because they've been the big fish their whole life, and they still probably are if they're a good player at their college. And the pro guys, man, they just wanted to talk about their kids.
Video games.
They didn't want to talk about baseball for 1 second. Like, let's just talk to me like we're just hanging out and two bros shooting the shit. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, 100%. Yep. The college guys, they haven't proven themselves to the fullest degree, and they haven't earned anything tangible yet. Whereas the pro guys, like, they're past all that. Like, that whole quote about Bryce Harper and how, like, I'm just playing with house money now.
Mm-hmm.
And the hardest part of my career was, like, getting drafted first, right, and taking care of my family. Like, that's the essence of a pro guy for me. Is like, they're, for the most part, they're established. They've proven themselves. They've been really good to this point. And they might be trying to just do something specifically, but they're older, mature, and they just like to hang out. And
Is that something that is just going to take somebody going through the process in time to learn, or can you have an influence on a college kid and be like, hey, like you got to drop your ego a little bit?
Well, we try to keep those guys around. Like I try to keep the big league guys that I work with on the side around as often as possible because they have such a positive influence on these guys. Just in the way that they carry themselves makes a huge impact. Like there's one specific example. We had one of our guys around. Or one of my guys around, and one of our guys at Wake, and like started acting differently every day forward after that guy came in, and I was 100% because he just picked up on some stuff that this guy was doing.
Yeah, or they're like, I'm no longer the big dog.
I think that's to a degree. They get Well, I think they get humbled by. I think college guys get humbled by velocity. So velocity becomes their identity, right? Because it's like what they do best.
Dude, we see that with high school kids.
Yeah.
Do you not like that?
For someone like Chase Burns, like
you kind of got it right on that, right?
No, I don't like that. And but overall, I don't like it. So here's why: because I started looking at guys that have a lot of longevity in the game. So Mike Clevenger, he had a great year again. Like he put in a lot of great work, redesigned his game. He had a great year for many different reasons. But one of the things that really worked for him was he lowered his fastball usage on the year, and he started throwing all of his pitches. So he started throwing 4 pitches instead of basically 2. And what I've learned about the guys that have stayed in the game for a long time, so like Rich Hill's a really good example of this. Rich Hill's pitched for...
He's pitched almost as long as Jamie
it's
Moyer.
19 years. 19 years in the big leagues. And he doesn't do anything super special. Like from a stuff perspective, it's like, well, what is making this guy so good? Like, why is he around so long? And what I think it is his identity is not rooted in anything talent-based.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He's just like, his identity is like, I get guys out. I throw 6 pitches. I can throw them wherever I need to in the zone. I'm a Swiss Army knife, and I just get guys out. And I think the ideal for a starting pitcher in the big leagues should be, how Swiss Army knife can I be? Do I have pitches that go to all parts of the zone that I can use against any hitter at any time? And then if you're a reliever, it's got to be power based, and I got 2 pitches, and I can just throw the ball by guys for like one time through the order and just have a bunch of different animals in the zoo, in the bullpen. But for the starters, I really think it comes down to just like, how versatile can I be through lineups to keep them guessing?
Well, and over the course of time, how can you reinvent yourself as well?
Yeah.
Like Rich Hills obviously had to do that. A guy I think about, CC had to redo that.
Right.
CC was a power pitcher, and then wasn't throwing 95, 96 anymore. Reinvented himself and still got guys out.
Had to learn how to pitch.
Yeah.
The more tools you have in your toolbox, the quicker you can reinvent yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get a team you're facing and you pitch really well, and then 4 weeks later you got to face them again, you got to make changes like on the fly, like really quickly. And the guys that I think are really successful already have that toolbox to go to.
Right. And I think that being a Swiss Army knife or having those tools in the toolbox can apply to position players too. Like being able to be versatile, be able to play infield, outfield. If you can hit the ball, they're going to find a place for you.
Yep.
I might have said this on the last one, but I have talked to kids. I'm like, look at like IKF and how he's reinvented himself multiple times. Came in as a catcher, became a Gold Glove third baseman, went to shortstop. Now he's a utility guy. And he was a pretty good utility guy last year. Overall,
baseball is truly a game of adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
Each side is adjusting to each other, and how well you can foresee those adjustments, especially on the pitching side, and beat the hitter's adjustments with your own.
Yeah,
is the secret.
I love that you're making notes. You're always thinking. What else is on there?
Okay,
Paul?
what was the other one I saw on here that I liked? Teach them to fish. Education is everything. There's no reason to keep information from them. Literally translate it to the field. Feed them content. And that says it was a text from somebody, it looks like.
Yeah, so why would I direct you all the time when I can teach you how to do it yourself? It's far more powerful.
Well, especially baseball, where you're going to have so many coaches over the course of your career. You need to have something like rooted in, this is what's best for me, kind of this like foundation, because people are going to feed a bunch of different stuff into you.
Mm-hmm.
They're pitching. We're not pitching. We're not the ones pitching. They are the ones competing, so they need to be as equipped as possible in order to be the best versions of themselves that they can be.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
100%. Paul, rip me one more.
Oh, shit. Tommy John window for injury, forearm tightness as the warning sign.
Oh, this is a big one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Some
Yeah.
kid coming to you and say, "Hey, my forearm's been feeling tight."
Yeah.
That's how the conversation starts.
Yeah. No, every time. And at that point, it might be too late, is what we've learned. Not all the time, but a lot of times it can be that way.
Yeah, you know what? It's true.
Yeah.
I'm thinking back to what we've seen over the years. It's always, hey, my forearm's been feeling tight. That
Yeah.
should be a big red flag. They know their bodies. It usually doesn't feel like this after I throw. It's if that happens, it's like you should get looked at. A good PT, a doctor, and like, let's make sure things are okay. Because I've seen a lot of people waste their time. It's like my forearm's tight, so I'm going to get treatment. I'm going to do PT. The ligament's partially torn or torn. Now we may have missed months. Where it's like you need the surgery.
Yeah, these guys don't come back the same way that people think they do from that injury either. I think it's largely avoidable. We just don't know how, and we're not looking at the problem the right way as an industry. And that's something we're trying to spearhead here. And one of the great parts about my job is I have access to so many different smart people and such a network of people in different fields, and including the medical field and the research field. So if we feel like we're onto something, we can get the help we need to see if this is true, and B, publish it to help the game. And that's a part of what I want for the Bridges here, is to solve those kinds of issues. One of them being UCLs. Like I saw something recently that 38% of the pitchers in Major League Baseball right now have had Tommy John surgery at some point.
Wow.
It's 38%. That's only growing.
Only going.
It's
to
only
grow.
growing as we go on forward. Now they've done a really good job of, I don't want to say mastering that procedure, but sometimes it takes 17 months for these guys to come back.
Yeah.
Like their careers are completely different.
It's almost 2 years of their career,
Yeah.
And the thing I don't like to hear is like, oh, well, they can just get a surgery. Well, yeah, they can, but doesn't mean they're going to come back from it.
No, it's not. That's not. I refuse to believe that that's the correct way to approach it.
Right.
As an
It's
industry.
like they can get that, and that doesn't mean they're going to be the same pitcher, the same athlete. The mental side of it, going through that, is the thing that is probably what makes it harder for them than even the physical side.
Sure.
So
I think we have to approach it by looking at the problem, number one, and accepting that maybe we don't know all the answers to this, and we need to figure out what's really happening.
Yeah, because there's so many variables. And you're right, that's where this bridge conference is great, this bridge seminar, because it takes, with the UCL, I mean, you have the health of the tissue, you have the strength of the muscles around it, you have how your body rotates, you have your shoulder strength. We could go on and on.
Right.
But all the pieces got to be together.
And it's such high-level medical and anatomical stuff that 99% of coaches just don't know because it's not their domain. It's like expecting a doctor to know biomechanics and how the body is supposed to move.
But it's okay that you don't know and it's not your domain, but you have to know when to send somebody to another domain.
Yeah.
Sure, very true. And I want to take it a step further, and I want each of the domains to teach each other
Yes.
what to look for and understand their perspective and philosophies, which is where I think this issue comes into play. I just think we, as an industry, we basically slap volume on it and we slap pitch counts on it, and we go, all right, well, hopefully that works. And that's just, we don't look at the problem. Like that's fishing instead of teaching to fish,
Right.
right? Like that's putting a Band-Aid on the situation rather than really understanding it. I want to dig into it. I want to understand what's actually happening, and I actually think we have a pretty good handle on it at the moment. But I would like to see guys not have to go through career-changing injuries to learn this lesson for the industry over and over again.
Yeah. Having a handle on it by what? Having understanding of what precursors are
Yep.
to having a torn UCL?
Well, so we had two and I was going to say three, but two of them were actually UCLs last year. And one of them was a freak broken arm in the pitching arm. That was a wild one. But the interesting part about that one is he had Tommy John surgery too, and he was coming back from it. What I think happened is the actual fixture was so strong that it pulled off of the bone and
Right.
it broke the bone. It's just
It's a freak thing.
bananas to even think about. But we got to watch these injuries up close, and that was heartbreaking for me. And then one of them is Teddy McGraw, who I'm serious, is the best pitcher I've ever seen.
He still got drafted high.
Third round. I mean, how he's so lucky to be that good and be received as that good by the industry, to go that high still, because his whole career could have been sidelined because of this. So watching someone go of that potential to 100 to 0 that quickly, and just knowing the kid and how special he is as a person, not only as a player. I sat there and I'm like, we have to do something about this. Like we have the capabilities in the sport, and people are listening to us right now. We need to figure this out. And so we set out to do that. And I don't really know how we're going to do this, but let's try and figure out how to do it. And I think it largely comes down to forearm fatigue. And to bring it back to the original note, there's a window of time, I think, where the muscles that keep your forearm close to your center of mass as you're going through layback get fatigued and no longer are capable of keeping the arm close to your center of mass. So inertia affects your arm a little bit more and starts pulling out from the body. And I think that's when the two parts of your arm start to pull away from each other more and more.
And now you have more of this valgus, this stress on the on the inside portion of your elbow.
Yes, and so the only thing holding on to your elbow is the ligament, and it's just not capable of withstanding that. So I think that's when it happens. But it happens progressively, and it happens when the muscles are fatigued. And so if we can track when your muscles are fatigued and know at the first sign of fatigue, not days or weeks after fatigue,
right,
or through fatigue, then we should be able to swim away from that injury. And I think that's probably the smartest way we've thought about going about it yet. Yeah,
that makes sense. It's huge. Yeah, Mike, why don't you just plug again the Bridge Seminar, when it is, how people can register.
Yep.
And yeah, man, where they can find that.
Yeah. So it's December 1st through the 3rd at Wake Forest on campus in the Business Center, beautiful auditorium. WakeForestPitchingLab.com. It's right on there, or you can just Google search Wake Forest Bridge Seminar and it should just pop up for you.
Yeah, that's huge in this field. It's having a team of people that work together and share information to help a kid.
Yeah.
Because pitching, it's a complex skill.
Yeah. Well, let's do that as an industry. That's my point. For player development, like we don't have to give away competitive information all the time when we do this. We can raise the tide for all the ships, in the same industry.
Yeah, 100%. We're all here to help each other. Mike, part 2, I appreciate you.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's great. Always a good time.
Always good.
No problem, man. Blast as usual, and we'll catch everybody next time. Thank you.